Hello everybody, welcome back to Cuddles R Us. Today we're going to be diving into circuits. Number one favorite topic in the world. So if you're tired of chasing items around your base and spending hours of frustration, I got you covered. So let's dive in. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to be going to your advanced Sub-fief Console. The Sub-fief Console has some key significance in what you can actually do. So if you look at your Sub-fief Console and you go to your permissions list, you do have associate and also co-owner. For this instance, I'm going to be removing Mrs. Cuddles from my permission list because she's going to help me demonstrate some of the nuances of this. So we go to storage. We're going to set this to the circuit. All right. This circuit in your Sub-fief Console will dictate what your building tool will essentially pull from and put back to. Now, it does also have a storage. The use for the storage is when you go and you put down a Sub-fief Console, you can actually access this from like your ornithopter or something like this, and you can put storage in here and fill it up, and you'll be able to use that while you're building your makeshift base or whatever you need to do. All right. So then that way you're not trying to like throw down a box or you have all the materials on you. So anyhow, moving on, we can set the access level to the entire base this way. You can also, so here, if we set it to public, the base is open for everybody to use. It doesn't matter the machinery, nothing like that. Everybody will have access to it. Okay. They'll have access to your water. They'll have access to your build materials. They'll have access to your machinery. So want to make sure that you keep this. I personally keep it at associate level because co-owner, they have a lot more power when it comes to what you can do inside your base. And if you just want to give somebody access to your whole base, associate's just the way to go. So now that we have this kind of figured out, right? Storage, circuit, and the reason why I have my circuit at 3 and not 1 or 2 is because if you ever want to work with somebody, you're going to want them to work on their own circuit, or if you want to like limit how much a circuit is going to cover. All right. So let's go in. Let me give you a couple of scenarios. Now, if you were just being by yourself and you don't care about any of this, there's a few things that you can do. Okay. I'm going to show you the basic setup first. All right. So first off, if you go to your like fabricator, you can essentially go to your storage. Circuit 3 is what I've been going off of. And then it outputs the circuit 5, which comes out to these small boxes. Right? And this, right, does the same thing. It pulls from circuit 3 and it outputs the circuit 7. And 7 will go over to these boxes over here. Now, the reason why we set the base up this way, or you know, maybe you don't and you just like the chaos, because if you don't set these up, no matter what you do, they will go into any box around. All right. So you can find pieces for your ornithopter. If you got done making it and it ran out of space, it would just throw your piece somewhere random. If you're sitting here and you're mining aluminum, right? Or you're processing aluminum, when your box gets filled or when the storage gets full, it's going to output it to whatever circuit it's on. Okay. And then you'll be finding it littered throughout your base. And with how big bases get in Dune Awakening it's oh my God kind of big, right? I got a comparatively small base as of right now. So what I do is I will set up my circuit to go I'm in for circuit 3, it outputs to circuit 4. Now, every single one of my circuits has a destination. Okay, so you can do whatever you want to do when it comes to circuits, but I have a sticky note sitting on top of my desk about what circuit goes to what. All right, so when I put up a box or I put up a piece of equipment, I know that if it's this material, that's what circuit I'm going to put it into. It is something to get kind of familiar with, because if you don't, you'll start ending up with boxes like this that have random stuff in it, and you just like, where do I put this stuff? And well, you got a junk drawer now. All right, so you want to make sure that your boxes, you know, these are a drop stash. But anyhow, I digress. So I set up a little demonstration for you guys for setting up an actual guild base. Now that we've gone over personal, like, you can keep everything circuit 1. You can just output it to different boxes to allow yourself the freedom to go, okay, this is what I want to do with that. Now, in your solo boxes, you want to make sure that your output is always going to be whatever number your Sub-fief Console is, just due to the fact that if a box gets filled up, it'll go to the next box. If that box gets filled up, it'll go to the next box. But you want to be able to pull from all of those boxes, not just one. So you want to make sure that you set it up so where it's inputting from your circuit in and outputting to your entire base. Because if you don't do that, well, you can set it up so where it's a little bit more strict. So where, you know, you can set it so where they can only have access to one single circuit, which I'm going to show you this now. So going in, we're going to, like, I set this one up so your storage is full. Now, when you give people access to your machinery, they are going to be able to pull out this scrap, and they can use the machine to get it to full max. Like, it depends on who you're working with. So you just set it. I set this one to guild. All right. I filled it up. It's circuit 1, circuit 2. And I also set up a spice refinery to do the same thing. All right. And then it's also guild. So if you want to give your guild access to make stuff, this is a good way to do that. The issue with allowing people to operate your machinery is the fact that your water is never going to be capped. So your water in general will have access to all of that no matter what you do. You cannot stop them. There's no limiting of that factor. Okay, so one of the things that I actually started doing was actually making smaller boxes to limit the amount that they're allowed to craft at any one time. Now, they can just go ahead and use the drop down menu and, you know, put more materials in there and just keep making more and more materials. You can't stop it if you're going to set it up this way. But with that said, I will let Mrs. Cuddles go ahead and make something. So she's going to be processing aluminum bars. All right. But if you look at the storage, so if she goes through her storage, you can see that she can grab the stuff out of there and put it in her inventory, and you can't stop that. But she cannot actually change the circuit. She can't change the circuit. It's stuck the way it is. So she can't have access to any of your materials well, they can't have access to your materials when you're sharing that equipment. Okay. Now you can go in there and change it, use the equipment, whatever, but know what circuits you're on. Next, the reason why I set it up to circuit 2 is because you can take these boxes, right? Once they're set up. Now, the funny thing with the boxes, all right, they have circuits as well. Circuit 1 and circuit 2. We talked about this. But let's say that you don't want anybody to have access to those lines or that equipment. So instead of setting this up to circuit 1, where they could pull resources from this one as well. You set this one up as circuit 2. Now, when the machine fills this box up, I'll let Mrs. Cuddles go ahead. When this box gets filled up, all right, it's going to output to circuit 2, but you can put a box next to it that allows it to go ahead and output to circuit 2 again. See, Mrs. Cuddles is putting aluminum in this box, I believe. Yep. So once this box is filled up, it will actually start outputting to circuit 2, but the materials that she's making is now locked in that circuit. You cannot access that circuit without changing it to circuit 2. This will stop people from being able to just use the goods that they process in your base. If you're doing this as a guild, like if you're just using it as a helping hand to some members of your guild to, you know, process their materials faster, or if you're doing it for the lands rat and you're like, hey, I'm going to be making thousands and thousands of copper ingots to, you know, turn in for the lands rat. You can essentially set this up to do that, so where they can have access to it whenever they need to, and they can be making those while you're AFK, while you're gone. But do keep in mind that they do have unlimited access to your water. So, but with that said, you're like, but I don't want them to have access to my water when I'm not available or I'm not there. You can actually set your doors, right? You just go up and you manage your doors. You can actually set them to associate. So now only associates can get in. You don't have to reset up your machinery. You just can change your door. All right. So as you see, Mrs. Cuddles can't get through that door, but she can get through this one, right? So she can still get in the base, but you would have to change your doors to dictate who can get in and out. All right. I leave this for a guild base. Well, that's 5. That's public. 4 is for guild. So you can also, let's say that you're sharing a base with somebody, right? You can also set up like certain rooms, and you can move the boxes into individual rooms. You can also use this to separate your processed goods and set them up so that the guild functions. Now, the reason why you would do this kind of setup would be for the deep desert base. So if you guys are going out as a guild in a deep desert base, you're most likely going to want some sort of control over the gear that you have out there, and also what people are building. Like, most people will take their goods back, but let's say that you're a large guild, you're built in the PvE area of the deep desert, and you guys are just running missions in and out, okay? And you just want a place to store all your stuff, and then wait till the end of the week to just transfer it all back to the Hogga Basin, where then you can, you know, make do. Now, this is a great scenario for this because the owner can give everybody their individual circuits or items that they process. Now, by saying that, right, the equipment would be on circuit 1-1, but these boxes would be changed to circuit like 2-2, 3-3, and so on and so forth. So then that way it will stop anybody from being able to access those boxes without that person's being available. Okay. That's like the main rundown of why the circuit system is so important. Not only does it save you time and energy when you're running, you know, trying to find what you need, you know exactly where it's at because you set this up. In the deep desert, you know your stuff's going to be safe if the box is set correctly. Because the thing that you don't want to do is, you know, have all of your goods that you've collected in the deep desert, right, sitting inside this base that your guild has access, well, that your guild owns, you know, and you'll come home to missing stuff, or, you know, we process that into something, you know. that may hurt your progress. It may not. I don't know what kind of game plan you guys got going on, but we're just trucking away here. So with that said, I know it's a lot of information. So if you do have any more questions, you can drop me a comment. You can also like, subscribe. You know, you can also hit my Discord. If you really do have issues, I'll be more than happy to help you, walk you through whatever you need help with. But with that said, please do hit that subscribe. And I hope you got something out of this. And I will see you in Arrakis.